Good morning, everybody. I'm Ryan Gallagher, and I'm running for Williamson County Judge. And a little bit about me. I've been married 17 years, and I've got 4 children. They're all in grade school, 6th grade and below. So kind of a new family, maybe for... And we're concerned about our children's liberty and the things that have gone on the past couple of years. But before I jump into the issues, which I got 5 minutes for that in a minute, I'll cover a little more about me. I'm an active Christian, attend church regularly every week, and trying to learn as much as I can about God's Word, because I do believe that God's Word is the truth. And that is the truth that I'm going to lean on. If I'm elected this office or I'm not elected this office, that's how I'm going to run my life. And I work for the same company for 19 years, and currently I'm a plant manager for about 170 employees, and I manage various departments, and I've worked in various departments along my way to get there. So I've done sales, project management, engineering management, production management, purchasing, materials management, warehouse management, and I have a good background in business. I've got a business major from Marymount University in Arlington, Virginia, many years ago when I was a little younger. And I have a lot of business experience. I like to use the numbers to dictate where we go, how we fix problems, etc. And lean activities are something that we have to do regularly there. That means finding efficiencies in things, eliminating waste, which, government has a track record of having a lot of waste in their spending, etc. So I bring that to the table to share with the departments of Williamson County. And I think integrity is another thing I'm going to bring to the office. I'm an honest man. I'm just a business guy trying to raise a family. And the last couple of years has taken turns that led me to putting my hat in the ring to run for this office. Not something that I ever really aspired to do or thought I would do. But after the last couple of years, it's kind of the path that led us to where we are today. And I'm just trying to answer the call and stand in the gap for the people that feel like they're not being represented. I know I'm one of them, and I'm sure many of you feel similar about some of the issues, like election integrity and shutdowns, lockdowns, mandates, shutting churches down. We've come a long way in a very short time to wake up and recognize that our fundamental God-given liberties are getting trampled on, and that's why I'm running, is to represent y'all. I have a ton to learn about politics. I'm not a politician, but I am willing to give up my career if the people choose to elect me in this primary, and if I get elected to office, I will resign and focus 100% on Williamson County and representing the people.
Hi, I'm Terri Romere, and this is just about who we are personally, right? Not about our issues. I am a Fighting Texas Aggie class of 1990, and I have been married to my husband there for almost 32 years. So we have 2 children. One, our daughter is a civil rights attorney, so I like to say that she got a little bit of her advocacy from her mother. She's a fighter for the rights of citizens that have been trampled on, so I'm proud of her. And I'm equally proud of my son, who is learning a trade. I am big on vocational skills and life skills, and he is learning HVAC. And so he will be able to help people stay cool and stay warm and be really part of the grid problem. So I'm very proud of him as well. I'm a lifelong Christian and have been active in my community as a servant. I'm an executive director and founder of the Raise 'em Up Foundation. And what that is an organization, because I felt the schools weren't doing an adequate job of fostering entrepreneurship and personal responsibility. I felt like this was something that was needed. So along with my husband and several other parents that felt the same way, we established the Raise 'em Up Foundation, and that's exactly what it means. Raise 'em up to be good citizens, raise them up to be responsible. And just last year, I was awarded by the state of Texas Heroes for Children Award. So those are the awards that I take to heart, because there's a lot of awards out there that are based on what I can give you so that you can give me something. I don't like those awards. I like the awards that really truly mean something, and that's giving back to the community. And so I'm very happy about that. I am not a politician, I will tell you that. Straight out. Yes, I do have a service of 7 years in the school district as a trustee in Round Rock ISD, in which I proved to the citizens that I wasn't a politician. Yes, I'm an eloquent speaker because I was a state Texas FFA officer way back in the day. So they train you professionally how to speak. And then I was a trainer for 5 years for a Christian publishing company, and went across the state or across the nation training lay individuals in the church how to spread God's word and make it applicable and life applicable to our children, and in turn the adults that are teaching it. So that was something that I'm very proud of as well. I think that I'm a residential realtor. So I think that that's important for you to know. I am not a commercial realtor. I am not a commercial developer. And so I take my job very seriously in working for the people. I will listen to what they need, what their goals are, and deliver. And that's what I've done for over 20 years in my industry, and I can't even tell you how many years I've been in the employment section, because that's a lot. But I can tell you my core value is service to the people. And that's why, again, I stepped up and decided that after the 2 years of having our liberties, and not only just our liberties, our God-given rights terminated and stopped, I had to step back in the ring.
Amen.
I'm J.T. Cox, and I'm running for County Commissioner in Precinct 2. Personal background, I'm married, second time for 21 years. I've got 9 living grandkids, 1 great grandchild, and 1 in the oven. So I might have more grandkids than a lot of y'all. Great grandkids, let me put that away. I'm not a politician either. Something's up. I can't help I'm that tall. I'm not a politician. And talking to a city council person yesterday, and she told me that I needed to study the situations and do my homework just a little bit more than what I've been doing. I've been doing my homework on Cynthia Long since 2007. And she hadn't done too well for Liberty Hill. And I'm sitting there and I thought after the fact that I should have asked this lady, how much stuff, what happened to you that you want to run for city council? What made you mad that you wanted to run for city council? What tripped your trigger? And Cynthia Long has tripped my trigger big time. Because number one, in Precinct 2, out of all 4 precincts in the county, Precinct 2 has got the worst roads, county roads, in the entire county. She hasn't worked on them since 2007, except for once every 3 years, or call it 4. And that's the year of election time that she'll run out there with a little backhoe or something or other, try to patch up a pothole in the road. And she said, oh, I'm working great. In my website, it says that I'm for landowner rights, I'm for common sense growth, I'm for property rights, and I'm for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Being a farmer and rancher, being a person that's worked in the oil field for 28 years, I'm one of these kind of people that's don't have a big degree. I'm not a PhD, I'm not a master, I have my degree in life. And when something breaks, you fix it. I spent 18 years offshore in the oil industry and have traveled the world in that time frame. You don't get to run to the store every time something breaks offshore. You sit out there and you figure out how to fix it. Same as here. Something breaks in these roads or in this system, in this county system or whatever, you fix it. You figure out how to do it. You don't study it. You don't plan it for years and years and years and years. You get out there and you take care of it and you fix it. One thing in particular, this voting system that we have here in Williamson County.
Yes.
I am an advocate. I'm not going to sit here and preach on voter integrity or anything like that, but I am an advocate of a hand ballot with hand counting. Do away with these voting machines, do away with these scanners and all that stuff. You put 3 Democrats on this side of the table, you put 3 Republicans on that side of the table, you put the bouncers on the end of it, and you better come up with 6 of the same answers, and if you don't, do it again until you get the same answer. And I don't care if it takes till 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
That's right. Amen.
I'm sick and tired of some of this stuff that's going on in this county. In Precinct 2, Cynthia Long is going around and virtually taking land, and I say that tongue-in-cheek because some people are paid some money for it. But she's very quick and will use eminent domain very, very fast. Every time you turn around, you're seeing things that she's trying to come up with. There's a group called Preserving the Future of Western Cedar Park. And they went after Amazon to rezone where they wanted to rezone for Amazon. There's not a whole lot of difference in them trying to shut down Amazon and us people in Precinct 2 trying to shut down some big 8-lane highway that they're wanting to put through people's farms, houses, ranches, and everything else. And I'm not for that, especially when they already have the lanes to do it. So my timekeeper told me that I better shut up, so I'm gonna sit down and I'll answer any questions you got. Thank y'all.
Okay, for the platform, we'll just do the same order.
Okay.
Ryan first.
All right. All right, for the platform, and I did hit on a few of those areas, but election integrity is one of them, and I support decentralization of the voting system because, quite frankly, there's just too many things that have gone on that's even unique to Williamson County, and just to stay out of the national headlines. We had some failures in Williamson County and our elections in 2020 that we need to look at, and we need to resolve these issues. I don't feel like those have been addressed properly. We had a product that was delivered to the people that said we don't have precinct by precinct level results, and yet we had 4 out of 5 on the bench on the commissioner's court vote to certify an election over a blank stack of paper. Now, I'm not saying that would have changed the results of the election, but the bottom line is we don't know. We don't know exactly what happened, and so the goal for me is we need to revisit that and figure it out. And if we have to go back to the basics of paper ballots, I'm all for that. Decentralize it, put it back in the voter precincts. That's why we have them. We have them so small that they are manageable. They don't have to manage more than 5,000 votes. That can be easily done as long as we have good precinct chairs that can raise the volunteers to get people and manage that system. We can do it. We did it for 200 years. There's just too much, smoke going over these machines, in my opinion, and there's no way to really go back and look at what's happened. But there's people that could have gotten the wrong ballot styles, or we know they did in Williamson County. They got the wrong ballot style, which means they had people on their ballot that they shouldn't have been voted for, and vice versa. Somebody else may have had their candidates on theirs and they voted and didn't represent their local community at that level. So it's very important. We just got redistricted based on this data, which I think it has something to do with how they define the redistricting. So that could have been done on false data. And nobody could prove absolutely that it wasn't false, so it's time to go back and say, hey, something's wrong, we need to fix it to give the voters a peace of mind. The latest polls I've seen say 60% of voters believe that the election of 2020 as a whole was not accurate. And so that's a lot of people, that's a lot of voters. And I don't hear a lot of Republicans talking about it in our county, and I don't understand it. Or maybe I do, because maybe they participated in it at this point. What else do I have to believe? You've dug a hole and you just keep digging it. lie until you die. It's time to fix it. Whatever happened, happened. And I'll tell you, if I'm your judge, even if something gets screwed up, all right, something's wrong, and we may get negative media attention for it, but it's better to be honest about it up front and go fix it. That's what I got to do in my work. We send a bad product out, we're responsible for it. We got to go back and do corrective actions to make sure that doesn't happen or we get fired. So same should hold effect for our government officials. Get them out if they're not representing you. I aim to represent all the people as best I can by hearing from the people, and that's critical. This group has a fine reputation for being very knowledgeable, so I'm excited to get to know you all a little bit better, because if I'm elected, like I said, I'm not a politician, but I have a lot to learn in regards to some of the dynamics of the local politics and offices, but I do want to hear from the people, and I want the people to be represented because I feel like I was not. My wife's been at the county commissioner court ever since the 2020 election, and they won't address it. So they're just ignoring it, and maybe they'll ignore it long enough, we'll just all go away. Well, we're not. We're stepping up, we're standing up, and we're saying we're not. We want truth. That's what we're after. So your liberties is another critical issue that during the COVID pandemic situation where they shut down our churches, you had no freedom to go worship and assemble, which is a violation of your First Amendment of the Constitution, which is horrific. It did happen, and that's not allowed. You can't do that. That is unlawful, but it happened. You know, I could go to work because I'm in manufacturing, but you know, your little restaurant over there, you can't. Your business may shut down. You may face the threat of bankruptcy by the end of all this. I don't think that's right. You can't pick groups and say you can work, it's safe here, it's not safe there on something like this. In the end, and I think the data supports, none of it made any sense. It was the wrong decision. But nobody's going back and saying, hey, we got deceived into, you know, shutting our whole economy down or half of it or more. People lost their jobs, people were isolated. It's no wonder we're gonna have a mental health crisis coming up, which they're already discussing on the commissioner's court. And that's what happens when you isolate people. You take a prisoner and you stick them in solitary confinement, what do you think's going to happen? You think they're going to come out just peaches and cream after a year? No, they're not. They're going to be, you know, they're going to have some things wrong. So that's another big one. I aim to stand for your rights, period. I'm not here to take it. I will not declare an emergency and take away your rights as human beings. It is your choice of what you want to do. The pastors can decide what they want to do with their churches. That is up to them. It's not up to the government. So federal dollars, that's something to be concerned about. Read something from Governor Abbott about a month ago, I think, saying, hey, local county officials, pay attention because this money they're going to give you may have strings attached to it, which means, okay, what liberties is the federal government trying to buy from you now? We need to look at that very carefully, and I will not take any federal dollars without the proper assessment of what strings are attached to those dollars and listening to the people. Your current leadership didn't even ask the people if they wanted to go get COVID dollars. They just did it. They didn't even consult the other commissioners, and that's on record in an interview. They didn't bother. If you're here to represent the people, you need to make sure that you're able to get their feedback on or at least from their representatives at minimum. You got to talk to them at least. And I don't want to hear there's not enough time. There is time. It could be done. It just wasn't. So I support the police department. I think law enforcement and abiding by the law is crucial and critical to the sustainment of a civilization. We gotta have it. And we should be supporting our officers and doing what we can to remain competitive in pay so that we can keep our rolls full of what we need there. So defunding police, absolutely not. Border, I wish there was something the county judge can do, and if y'all got ideas, I'm willing to listen. But we can't have a gaping open border without repercussions of people coming in. They will be in Williamson County. They're coming into everywhere. They're being bused and flown to places. So if there's anything we can do that we have the authority to do, I'm willing to entertain that. If y'all got ideas, I'm open, but I know it's maybe out of my jurisdiction to some degree, but what can we do at our level? And I will support it if it's an effective means of mitigating that mess in any way. So, in a nutshell, that's it. And you know, also our officials in Williamson County accepted $250,000 from Mark Zuckerberg. And I don't know if any of y'all been booted off Facebook for talking about election integrity. I know we have. So your freedom of speech is lost, and they're paying our officials $250,000 to use for our elections of 2020. And I just think it's a $293,000. They say it's to pay election workers. They say it's for this or that, but I don't know. There was so much money poured into Williamson County with the CARES Act. I don't know why we'd need money from Mark Zuckerberg, but I think we need to be careful about who we accept money from, because anybody that gives you money doesn't just give you money, they expect something for it. And so you got to be wise to that.
Thank you, Ryan.
Nothing's for free. So.
Terry?
I love it when you're on a roll. I love it. So I want to explain this. I have a platform, but a lot of you have seen this picture out there on the highways, and I will tell you, it plays into my first platform of full transparency. I am known for asking the hard questions, and it comes out of this mouth. And the funny thing is when I was on the school board, I was censured 4 times. The reason why they do that is because they didn't like what was coming out of my mouth. My mouth was asking questions of where this money is coming from. Why do we need this? We need to talk to the public. Oh, heavens to be, we need to shut her up. So let's try and humiliate her. Let's censor her the first time. And then I don't even think, 6 months later, I was censored an additional 3 times. But here's the full transparency of it all. I did it all in public. Because what they do is they like to beat you up behind those closed doors. And then, the Open Records Act, which I'm very familiar with, they don't abide by that. They violate it continuously. And when you get them called on it, they get angry. And I'm watching my mouth because I'm being taped. But the truth of the matter is this. They don't like asking questions. Who are we the people entitled to the answers? Yeah, you are. I'm entitled to the answer, and you're entitled to the answer. But the difference is you've got to have someone on the court to ask the questions. If you don't, then your questions don't get answered. Case in point, they didn't even bring up the discussion of removing a decades-long agreement with Round Rock ISD for police and law enforcement on campus. So what happened? They were allowed to create, Round Rock ISD was allowed to circumvent the process of real law enforcement. And you wonder why that's important to Precinct 4-1. Round Rock is in Precinct 4. But this law enforcement agency that this court allowed to happen because they didn't allow the discussion, because Terri Cook moved it, and the rest of the court said, nope, we're not going to talk about it. Lack of a second, the proposal died. And then the decision was made instantaneously. Round Rock, you got your police force. What does that do? Double taxation. Full transparency, ask the questions. That's important. So what did this law enforcement do? Exactly what my daughter and I said was going to do. Arrest parents. They abuse their powers. They do that all the time. And you know why I know this? This is probably why my daughter decided to go into this type of law, is because we knew that Texas A&M, the state of Texas, covers up for athletes. Because my daughter's story, I'm not telling it because it's been on the Today Show, it's been to the United States Congress. The institutions will cover up because they don't want the bad press. Well, when you got bad athletes assaulting young women, you've got a problem. And let's forward back to Round Rock ISD and allowing them to have that police force. That's what they did. They arrested 2 parents for just speaking their right, their God-given right. Full transparency. When you see the people's voice, my mouth is going to come through. It's funny, at one of the events, I just said, after 2 years of sitting and watching the horrible trampling of our God-given rights, I had to come back because, they locked us down, even though the judge violated his own lockdown rules. Another thing, the other commissioners didn't hold him accountable. They just let him take that $1,000 fine and say, just because you abused your power, misused county equipment, broke your own lockdown rules when we couldn't attend funerals. I couldn't visit my mother in the nursing home for 18 months, and she suffered because of that. But yet he can go visit in a fireman's, in a car, and visit his grandson's birthday party. That is lack of integrity. That is lack of honesty. And basically, he should have resigned his position. But guess what? The other commissioners sat on their hands and did nothing. That's not honesty. That's not transparency. That's not accountability. And that's, again, goes to my second one where it says more freedom. Why is it freedom for him to do what he wants to do, yet lock all of us down? That's not acceptable. And our commissioner, my commissioner, Russ Bowles, allowed the same thing. Smart growth. We need that. We need someone that owns several businesses. We need the numbers guy. We need the experience guy on that court. And that's why we've all stepped up to offer a choice for good change.
Take it.
I now know why President Trump's rallies are so long. You don't have time enough to say everything you want to say. My platform is this. I'm for the people. I'll explain in just a minute. I'm for common sense growth. I'll explain in just a second. I'm for landowners' rights. And I am for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I've got a long explanation for that one. For the people, just like Terri just said, we need 100% transparency in our county government. As a commissioner of Precinct 2, we don't get it from ours, and I will bring it back. I tell people, it's one of these days you're gonna pick up the newspaper, open it up, maybe up there in just a little cheesy corner, just a goofy name, call it the Commissioner's Corner. At least tell the people what you've been doing during the week. Tell them what you're up to, tell them what you're up, working on, go from there. We don't have transparency. The commissioner is only 1/5 of those people sitting up there. And when you go to Commissioner's Court and you can't even hear them talking, I advocate for putting individual mics on these folks, either them kind of stick on your ear and come down to your mouth, or the little button on kind or whatever, and quit leaning back in the chair, leaning over this way and the judge leaning over this way and talking amongst yourselves and nobody else can hear it. I'm for Commissioner's Court at nighttime, to where the normal people can come and see what's going on. I don't know the rules of the state and how all this thing works, but if you're gonna break for executive session in the middle of court, maybe have your executive session prior to it, if that's allowable, I don't know. But have Commissioner's Court at night where people can come in and see. If you don't go, that's your fault. But doing it in the daytime when all the audience out there is nothing but professional paid people that's getting paid to sit in there and talk to them, that's not really open transparency to the county. The second thing, the common sense growth. Well, let me back up. This is the agenda of the last week's deal. Every single agenda on here, 1 through 54. The last two really don't count, because they don't listen no how. Every single one of these starts off with the words discuss, consider, and take appropriate action. They sit up there and they pile up 3 through, in this particular case, 37, I think. And they say, okay, what do you think about it? Oh, I move to receive them. I second it, okay. And this is the judge. Okay, everybody vote. Okay, 5 vote. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to something. He didn't look down at 1, 2, or 4 this particular week, because 3 was missing. He didn't look up to see if they raised their hand or said anything. They didn't say aye or whatever. He don't know what they're doing. I'm afraid that when I'm sitting in that chair right next to him, the first time that this happened, I'm gonna sit back there and I'm gonna sit just like this. Okay, votes 5-0. Excuse me, Judge. How do you know it's 5-0 when you didn't even look at me? You know, if you're gonna act a little bit like you're supposed to be a professional, you know, at least, you know, put forth, you know, turn your head one way or another, you know, and think you're gonna do it. But anyway, moving on. Common sense growth. We're getting subdivisions slammed into this area, slammed in and slammed in and slammed in, and the developers are not helping their neighbors. I got a long story on that one, and I think we need to slow it down a little bit. If Dripping Springs puts a whole moratorium on it for a little while because they got problem, maybe we ought to do the same thing over here for a little while till we do a little bit of digging. Landowner rights. Don't tread on me, buddy. I paid the price for landowner rights. And I got exonerated from it. I got a piece of paper right there that says everything dismissed, everything going on. But I stood up for my rights, and I'll stand up for yours too. I don't care. And for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. How am I doing, timekeeper?
Just right on.
Okay. Real quick story. In the city of Liberty Hill, we used to have this, I like to bring this up, we used to have this big barbecue. Turned out to be the second largest barbecue cook-off in the state of Texas. It got shut down for whatever reason. We didn't pay and it's on private property. That's another thing. But they had to pay a mass gathering permit, cost $5,000, and this was to do scholarship for kids. We didn't have food handler permits, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. And our wonderful county commissioner that's sitting in office right now never, ever, ever came out and said anything. There goes our happiness. Thank y'all.